Have you ever stumbled across the online world of Hindi Kahani? It's this massive online genre, and I mean huge. They're basically modern, animated moral stories, and they use these everyday family situations to teach some really powerful lessons. So today, we're going to dive into two of these stories, and what's wild is they both take place in the exact same setting, the family kitchen, but they show us two totally different worlds.
And check this out for an opening line. Yeah, that's an ultimatum. Our first story kicks off with a mother-in-law, Savitri, who just stops cooking. She's on strike. And her one demand? Her son has to get married so she can finally get some help around the house. You can already tell this one little demand is going to cause some big problems, right? It totally exposes the cracks in this family's foundation.
So what's really interesting here is that both of these stories we're looking at are set in the dead of winter. And the kitchen, well, the kitchen is front and center. It's the main stage for all the drama. And what we're going to see is how that one room can either be, the warm beating heart of the home, or it can be the absolute coldest, most isolating place imaginable.
And this just lays it all out, doesn't it? In one corner, you've got Savitri's kitchen. It's more like a punishment zone on an exposed, freezing rooftop. Then, in the other corner, you have Ankita's kitchen, which is all about joy, family, and amazing food. It's wild. Same room, same season, but they couldn't be more different. So let's start with the happy one first.
Okay, so picture this. In our second story, we meet the daughter-in-law, Ankita, and her life is, well, it's pretty great. Her cooking is literally the event of the day. The whole family gathers around, excited for her winter specialties like a fantastic spinach curry and fresh millet bread. And it's not just lip service either. Her sister-in-law is so proud, she actually takes leftovers to college to brag about it to her friends. Now that is what it looks like to be truly appreciated.
All right, now let's flip over to the other side of the coin. This is the source of all the conflict in our first story. So remember how the mother-in-law, Savitri, went on strike? Her whole excuse was that this rooftop kitchen was just too cold for her. But, and you can see where this is going, the second her new daughters-in-law show up, she has zero problem sending them up into the freezing fog to cook for the entire family. Wow.
Okay, so the stage is set. We've got two families and two totally different conflicts brewing from their kitchens. For one family, the problem is coming from inside the house. It's a total failure of empathy, of basic decency, really. But for the other family, the crisis comes from the outside world, and it's going to test their ability to adapt.
So, back at Savitri's house, things go from bad to worse and fast. The strike works. The first son marries Arti, who just endures that miserable rooftop kitchen in silence. Then the second son marries Preeti. And Preeti, she's not the silent type. She immediately starts questioning why things are this way. And then it all comes to a head. It gets so brutally cold that her hands go numb and she badly burns herself on a hot pan.
And that's it. That's her breaking point. After getting burned, she cries out this line, "Is this a kitchen or a torture room?" And with that one question, everything changes. What was this private, hidden suffering suddenly becomes a very public crisis for the entire household.
Meanwhile, over at Ankita's happy home, a different kind of storm is brewing. It starts small. Early in the winter, she's buying lots of fresh vegetables, making these incredible meals. But as the season goes on, the prices just go through the roof. So, to manage the budget, she has to start buying less. The family, though, they don't know about the prices. They just notice the flavor's a little different, and they assume she's just not putting in the effort anymore.
And just to put this into perspective, this is the price for peas that Ankita found at the market. A shocking price that suddenly turns her vibrant, delicious meals into a serious financial problem. It's crazy to think that this one number is the root of the entire misunderstanding in the family.
So, both families have hit their crisis point. This is the moment of truth. How are they going to resolve these very different kitchen crises? Well, one family finds a solution through a long overdue dose of empathy, while the other turns to some good old-fashioned teamwork and innovation.
Back in the torture room, Preeti's scream brings the men of the house running upstairs. And for the very first time, they see the reality of the situation. They see the two women shivering there in the fog, they see Preeti's injury, and it finally clicks. They understand the cruelty their mother set up, all just for her own comfort.
Seeing this, Savitri has this profound realization. It's like she finally sees her daughters-in-law not as servants, but as someone else's children. And her apology isn't just empty words. It leads to real structural change.
The family immediately decides to build a new, proper kitchen downstairs.
Now, in Ankita's house, the solution is just as powerful, but totally different. When the family complains, Ankita finally explains the budget issue. And instead of blaming her, her mother-in-law, Gomti, has an idea. It turns out she has a green thumb. So they decide to start their own kitchen garden, turning a financial crisis into this amazing collaborative family project.
Okay, so what can we take away from these two kitchen tales? When you put them side by side like this, they offer some really clear, powerful lessons about family dynamics, empathy, and problem solving.
This table just breaks it down perfectly. Savitri's family, their central problem was a complete failure of empathy. The solution had to be a physical change that was driven by a moral wake-up call. The lesson is basically the golden rule, right? Don't do to others what you wouldn't want done to you. Then you have Ankita's family. They faced an external economic pressure, and their solution was innovation and teamwork. The moral there? Open communication and working together can solve almost any problem.
At the heart of these stories, you really have two different models of a mother-in-law. You've got Savitri, the tyrant, who sees her daughters-in-law as just a means to her own comfort. But then you have Gomti, Ankita's mother-in-law, and she's a mentor. She sees a problem and steps up, not to command, but to partner up and share her wisdom.
But here's the common thread, and it's so important. In both of these stories, the family only finds a real solution when the challenges faced by the daughters-in-law are finally seen and addressed. It didn't matter if the problem was cruelty or cost. The solution began by actually listening to the women at the heart of the home.
And that leaves us with one final thought to chew on. These stories are incredibly popular. We're talking millions of views. In them, women are rewarded for their endurance or they're celebrated for their innovation. So it makes you wonder, right? What does this say about the roles they're expected to play? This idea that women should be the ones to both bear the family's burdens and be the ones to engineer the solutions. It's a fascinating question.